Okay, let's just dive right into this. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're unpacking one of the absolute most fascinating ancient Egyptian myths out there. It's from a text known as the Book of the Heavenly Cow. We are going to look at a story where the literal apocalypse is thwarted, not by some hero with a magical sword, not by a giant energy shield, but by a massive, ancient brewery. It's a wild tale that totally shifts our perspective on how the ancients viewed their gods.
And this brings up a genuinely crazy question to hook us right out of the gate. What actually happens when a creator god makes a terrible mistake and unleashes a weapon he literally cannot control? And, maybe more importantly, how on earth did 7,000 jars of beer save humanity from total extinction? I mean, it sounds like a punchline, right? But as we look closer at this myth, you'll see it reveals some deeply profound ideas about human nature and divine power.
All right, Section 1. Ra's Golden Age ends. So to really wrap our heads around this, we have to travel way back to the first age of creation. This is before the gods moved up into the sky, and long before death and suffering were just, normal parts of the human experience. The ancient Egyptians believed there was a time when the sun god Ra physically walked on earth as a king among humans. Just look at how quickly creation unfolded here. Ra lifts the sky, fills the Nile, sets the stars in motion, and finally brings gods and humans into being. The boundary between heaven and earth was incredibly thin back then. Humans could literally just look over and see their creator ruling over every village and field. It was this perfect golden age where Ra's eye missed nothing.
But here's the thing. Even gods grow old. The ancient texts describe Ra's aging process in this incredibly vivid, almost surreal way. They say he shifted into divine, precious metals. His bones turned to silver, his flesh to gold, and his hair to genuine lapis lazuli. Now sure, that sounds beautiful to us, but to the ancients? This was a huge red flag. It was a clear sign that his physical form was aging and his absolute, unchecked power was beginning to wane.
So humanity makes a massive miscalculation here. Seeing his bent back, people start whispering in the shadows, saying things like, "He's old, his power is fading. Why should we keep bowing to him?" They completely and foolishly underestimated the all-seeing sun god, actually plotting to overthrow him just because he looked a little vulnerable.
Which brings us to Section 2, Unleashing the Eye.
Now, Ra's eye literally misses nothing. He heard every single whisper. And as you'd expect, he was deeply wounded and just downright enraged by the betrayal of his own creations. But he didn't just snap and strike out blindly. No, he summoned a secret council of elder deities in a hidden place in the sky, completely out of human earshot. He calls up Nun, the god of the primeval waters, alongside Shu, Tefnut, Geb, and Nut. These are gods who remembered the very beginning of time. And he asks them a simple question. What should I do with this ungrateful mankind?
Nun, being the great god of the primeval waters from whom Ra first emerged, gives him a very decisive answer. He says, "Send your eye against them. Let it strike the rebels so they may see your power." You see, Nun's argument was that a rebellion against Ra was a rebellion against creation itself. So taking this advice, Ra decides to unleash his ultimate weapon. He isn't going to grab a sword and go down there himself. Instead, he sends his eye.
Okay, let's pause and clarify what that actually means, because it's wild. In ancient Egyptian thought, the Eye of Ra is not just an eyeball on his face. It is a living, independent goddess. It's a literal piece of Ra's own power that acts on his behalf. Ra commanded this eye to go down as his daughter and strike the rebels so absolutely no one would escape. And when the eye descended, it took the shape of someone humans knew really, really well. The beautiful, joyful cow goddess, Hathor.
Let's move to Section 3, the Wrath of Sekhmet.
Right, so Hathor was absolutely not coming down to dance or celebrate. The second she reached the land of humans and saw their treachery for herself, this terrifying transformation happens. The gentle Hathor, goddess of love and music, completely hardens into Sekhmet, the fierce, relentless lioness goddess of war, plague, and scorching desert winds. They are literally two faces of the exact same power. And Sekhmet, she immediately begins her hunt.
The devastation was just absolute. Sekhmet walks through the villages along the Nile, and she is literally tearing human beings apart with her claws and teeth. Obviously, no human army could even scratch her. The fields ran red with blood, replacing the life-giving sacred flood of the Nile. The ground was just covered in corpses. And to make matters so much worse, Sekhmet starts drinking the blood. She becomes completely addicted to the mass slaughter.
So up on his throne, Ra is watching this unfold in absolute panic. What started as, some grim justice had spiraled totally out of his control.
He realizes that if this continues, there will be no humans left at all. His executioner is about to wipe out humanity entirely, which would plunge the beautifully ordered world right back into the primeval chaos of none.
And that brings us to Section 4, the red beer trick.
This whole disaster forces Ra, the exact same guy who ordered the hit, to urgently scramble for a way to save the very beings who betrayed him. He has to figure out how to stop Sekhmet, but he can't fight her directly because she's practically unbeatable in battle right now. But he remembers something crucial. Deep down, she still shares Hathor's underlying love for festivals, joy, and intoxication. So he orders his priests to move fast. They need a literal ocean of alcohol. We're talking a staggering 7,000 jars of beer to pull off this next move.
So here is Ra's master plan, and it's brilliant. Step 1, brew massive, and I mean massive amounts of beer. Step 2, mix all that beer with red ochre and other pigments so it looks exactly like fresh blood. Step 3, under the cover of night, his servants flood the low places, the canals, and the hollows in the fields so it looks like a giant lake of blood. It's the ultimate ancient booby trap, perfectly set before dawn.
The tension is literally peaking as morning arrives. Sekhmet, still just burning with wrath and fully expecting to find more humans to slaughter, approaches what she thinks is the freshly spilled blood of mankind. The text says she actually laughs, thinking she's going to drink her fill and then just wipe out whoever is left. But will the bloodthirsty lioness actually recognize the trap?
She bends down, expecting that hot, metallic taste of iron and blood. But instead, she tastes cool, sweet, intoxicating beer. And you know what? She likes it. She drinks and drinks until she literally can't tell the sky from the earth. By the time the sun is high in the sky, she is incredibly drunk. Her rage completely slips away, she staggers around, she dances, and finally, peacefully relaxes back into the gentle form of Hathor. Think about that. Humanity is saved simply by tricking an angry goddess into getting too drunk to finish the job.
Section 5. Why the gods left.
So, humanity survived, sure, but the world? It was changed forever. The immediate crisis was over, but all that blood soaked into the earth couldn't just be undone. Ra came to a really harsh realization here. Living this close to humans is just too dangerous. It's dangerous for them, and it's dangerous for him. He decides he simply cannot rule directly on Earth anymore. So the sky goddess actually lifts Ra away from the world on her back, supported from below by the god Shu. Ra rises up into the heavens, finally stepping far above the reach of ordinary mortals. This whole myth basically acts as a giant explanation for the boundaries of our reality. Just look at the shift. In the first time, gods walked right beside us on Earth, and humans lived this perfect, totally painless existence. But after the rebellion, everything changes. Ra travels the sky in his solar boat and goes through the duat at night. The gods become distant, untouchable, and aging and death, they're now permanently baked into the human design. This myth is telling the ancient Egyptians exactly why their world, our world, is the way it is.
Let's pull this all together. What does this actually tell us? Well, for one, Egyptian gods are definitely not your standard good versus evil characters. Hathor and Sekhmet perfectly show that creation and destruction are quite literally two sides of the exact same coin. Ra himself is playing the role of both a terrifying judge and a merciful savior. And honestly, perhaps the most uniquely Egyptian takeaway here, the literal end of the world is stopped by a well-planned festival and a whole lot of beer, not some glorious sword fight. It's dark, it's funny, and it's incredibly profound all at the same time. It leaves us with this pretty incredible realization. The gods once came so close to ending everything, and then, for reasons only they fully understand, they chose to let the story continue. They decided to set boundaries instead of just erasing us entirely. They left us in a world where disaster is always possible, but creation just keeps going. Every single sunrise is a literal reminder of this ancient choice to let humanity live another day.
Which really leaves us with this final thought to ponder. What other deeply human truths are hiding in these bizarre ancient myths that we've kind of just stopped listening to? I mean, it really makes you wonder how many other chaotic, almost apocalyptic stories out there actually do a perfect job of explaining the wildly imperfect world we live in today. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and hey, keep questioning the stories that built our world.